Bring in the suspects. As most of you know, you're called here because, interviews and stuff like that. Because, I wanted to know your personal feelings for, your performance in the Clue Lego movie. So, Mr. Ralph Bison, how do you feel about playing Mr. Green in the Lego Clue movie? I actually love doing it because, it's like I actually get to be one of the suspects and portray a guy who was never a murderer, like not even once, not in any of the three endings that the film offers. What was your favorite part about the movie? Shooting Wadsworth, because we get to stop blackmail from spreading. Okay, and right over this way. Sal Riggins, how did you like playing Miss Scarlet? It's a great opportunity for me. And, honestly, it's great to be the pretty one. I love it. It's real wonderful. One line I still remember, practice makes perfect, huh? I think most men will need a little practice when we're talking about, Professor Plum's work at the UN. Yeah. Alright, so now Sophie Gibbs, you've done Mrs. White, correct? And what would you say is, your favorite part of being Mrs. White? Having a background of, a black widow, like going for irony, even though I'm called Mrs. White, I have some sort of Black Widow background, like, the nuclear physicist husband who was decapitated, and, well, you get the idea, I'm sure. Well, I guess if his head wasn't removed, I guess he might have had to live with a really high voice for the rest of his life. Yeah, I'll bet. What about you, Colonel Mark Phillips? Colonel Mark Phillips? I'm not a soldier of the military or anything. No, that's your character, Colonel Mustard. Oh, of course. I always thought it was weird that the character names given in the movie was, code names. And yet the movie doesn't really give any explanation as to why they are going by specific code names. Well, that's how the original movie was made. Why should this be any different? I don't know. But it always felt weird to me. And, Daisy Chains, you were Mrs. Peacock. Mm-hmm. What did you like about being Mrs. Peacock? Doing all the screaming when Professor Plum suggests the brandy I was drinking earlier to have been poisoned. And that brings us to Daryl Zoolander. And like in the board game, you were last. Yeah. Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I'm last. What am I laughing at? Yourself being last? Is that true? Well, it most certainly seemed like the case. Well, Zoolander, what did you like about being Professor Plum? Being the smart one. Like being the psychiatrist that took advantage of his patients, which cost him the license to practice medicine. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's an interesting background for, a character. Yeah, it is real interesting. Alright, you 6 can go. You are just the main suspects. You're bringing the other 3 people. Only 2 of them, really have these kinds of murderous, backgrounds. Bring in Jeremy Thompson, Violet Tenner, and John Simpson. So, Jeremy Thompson, you played Wadsworth the butler. Yeah. I actually really like the character. He has a very interesting sense of humor. And that's what I really like about him. His sense of humor. Like, going straight up savage. Like, with the double negative thing. When Colonel Mustard denies being one of Miss Scarlet's clients. First he denies it. And Scarlet goes with it. Says, it's not true. Plum like, is that true? Scarlet's like, no, it's not true. So Green's like, so it is true. And I'm all like, double negative. In fact, the double negative has proven like positive. Just a director's thing. I don't really believe in the double negative at all. Yeah, neither do I. Violet Tenor, you've played Yvette, the maid. Yeah, it was difficult for me, but I had to work on talking in a French accent. It was kind of a challenge for me, but it worked out really well. Well, out of all the characters with murderous backgrounds, like, the 8 that were searching, Violet, you're the only one that was a victim to murder. Yeah, that rope felt kind of uncomfortable around my neck. You were able to power through? Yeah. I'm alright. I'm good. So now John Simpson plays, the main victim, Mr. Body. Yeah, Mr. Body. I think it's kind of stupid that Mr. Body's in the movie is being portrayed as the 7th guest, and the normal version of, the Clue, the board game, the instruction says objective. Mr. Body, apparently the victim of foul play, has been found in one of the rooms of his mansion. The mansion belongs to Mr. Body. So why in the movie would he be the 7th guest? Well, I have no idea. I absolutely have no explanation for that. Well, why didn't you do something else with it? That's how the movie was made. No, you're using that excuse for, Colonel, Phillips. What Phillips said about the code names being applied to the characters. Well, it's not really much of an excuse, it's just how the movie was made, and I never got real explanation as to why they have to go by code names. Or heck, why couldn't the names of the board game just be the real names? Names that not just made up names. I guess the director was all like, it would be pretty stupid if someone's last name was Mustard. I don't think so. I can't really blame anyone for having a last name of Mustard, because how could I blame them? They had no choice but to be given that last name. Yeah, true. Like, I'm named John Simpson. Are they going to think I'm one of the Simpsons? I don't think so. In fact, the Simpsons are a fictional family. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Well, that's all for these interviews. Man, I love it when a movie gets put together.